Could you use a quick tip daily? How about a tip that can impact your day? My name is Raphael. Join me as I bring you tips by experts around the world. These experts have shared their knowledge and wisdom with me and will directly share them with you. Make sure to subscribe, like, follow, and comment, and I would love for you to become part of the New Tip Daily community. Good morning, good morning. Happy days. It is Tuesday. What an incredible day it has been. I want to talk to you today about something that I really considered yesterday. Overeating. My whole life, food has been an important part of it. And sometimes I get frustrated with food. You know why? Because I wish I could just take a pill and not have to worry about food. Almost like, I'm in the mood for steak. It would go away, right? And I would be replenished. I would still be healthy. No harmful effects from the pill. No such pill exists. We still have to consume all these different types of foods. But the problem that we face is that sometimes we eat with our eyes. When is the worst time to go food shopping? When you're hungry. When you're hungry, you wind up buying all this nonsense. You also, when you're very hungry, you take on a bigger plate than you should. Now, I want you to consider, and this is the thought I had yesterday. I looked at a meal that I had, and I've done this so many times, but yesterday I looked at it a little bit differently. And it was very interesting for me. So here's what I mean. I looked at my meal and I said, that meal is bigger than my stomach. When was the last time you thought of that? That the food in front of you is bigger. This is a 32-ounce flask, if you will, right? It's a really cool flask. It keeps my liquids cold. It's called Iron Degree Flask, right? It's a pretty cool flask. So if you look at it, it's nice. It keeps everything cold. I can do a straw. I can do it has different interchangeable tops. Let me see if I get the one from here. Yeah. See, I can change out the top. So I can do it where I can just I can just flip it like that and drink from it, or I can use the straw one. It's pretty cool. I like the straw one when I'm sitting at a desk, right? 32 ounces. If this was my stomach and I try to put more than 32 ounces, what's going to happen to this thing? If the walls of it, like our stomach, can expand, then it would expand to take on a gallon. Think of that. That's what we're doing. Now, this is only 16.9 ounces of water. If I tried putting this water into this, it would start to overflow. Now, our body, when we eat, we don't overflow that way. But you know what we do? We expand. We expand. Think of a balloon, right? A balloon is kind of empty until you put more and more air into it. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Just like your tire in your car. It takes a certain amount of pressure. If you overdo it, it's going to expand to a point, but then it's going to burst. And that also winds up happening. It, it's pretty incredible that the body doesn't burst from overeating like that, but it does have negative effects on us. So I'm going to share with you the thought I had. So I was looking at my plate. While looking at my plate, I said, wow, that's a lot of food. And I said, what would happen to me if I actually ate all of this food? What would really happen to me? And this thought came to mind. I said, my stomach would accept all of this food. But then I said, why am I putting so much pressure on my stomach? I want you to do me a favor, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. Take your hand, make a fist. From here up, that's probably maybe a little bit bigger. That's probably the size of your stomach from here to here. That's probably the size of your stomach. But a lot of us will eat this much. So we expand our stomach. If our stomach is this big, right? And we eat and we eat, we're expanding it. We're expanding it. We're expanding it. This is why people who have that lipo or the band surgery, what they do is they close the stomach up with a band so tight that it's hard for the food to get in it, right? Because if this is your stomach and your opening is big, the food is just going to keep going in. But if you tighten it up, that's why they do the band. They got smart. They do the band. It's hard for the food to get in it. And so therefore, you feel full because now your stomach has contracted. It's gotten smaller, if you will, smaller. So with this fist in front of you, how do we give ourselves the opportunity to only fill it with what it can handle? Don't get me, I'm sorry, I said that incorrectly. It can handle a lot more, but what if we fill it just right? Like Goldilocks. This is too hot. This is too cold. Oh, this is just right. What if we filled our stomach so it's just right? How do we know how much food to put in it? Well, if it's about the size of your fist, put your fist on a plate and imagine when you put the food on the plate, that's the amount of food you should eat. Maybe a tiny little bit more, or maybe a tiny little bit less, but no much more than your fist. This will, by all means, it will change the dynamic of your body because now you're feeding your body so that it can digest that food properly. If you overfill it, it's going to take longer. This is why people get indigestion. You get a tummy ache. You get all these different things. People take Pepto-Bismol. People do all these different things that we're putting in our body, and then we're trying to rectify it by adding other things that are not necessarily healthy for you. I've seen people live on Pepto-Bismol because they overate. They did this, they did that, Tums, all these different things. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why? Because we blame our emotions sometimes. We're emotional. We even say it. We say it out loud. I'm an emotional eater. When I feel a certain way, I have to eat this way. No, you don't have to do anything. You choose to. You choose to eat a certain way. It's up to you, my friends. You can decide not to eat that way. You can decide what you put in. Everything that we put in will show up. One of the things I also tell my clients is what you eat in private will show up in public. Boom. What you eat in private will show up in public. If you go home and you overindulge once in a blue moon, who cares? But if you do this every day, if you go home and you throw down 6 beers and you eat a burger and you eat pasta and you eat all these different things that are going to just keep filling you up, filling you up, filling you up, and you think that's not going to have an effect on your livelihood, woof, your blood sugar is going to go up. You may become diabetic. I watched something recently and somebody said, "Whoa, smoking, you smoke." I personally don't smoke, but this was a comment. It was actually interesting remark that the person replied back, and it said, smoking doesn't kill you. It's the sugar, it's the carbs, it's all that nonsense that you put in your body. I don't know. Do they have a point? You have to choose your future by the actions you take today. If you're going to smoke, it's up to you. If you're going to overeat, it's up to you. Now, if anybody remembers, I may be dating myself, but George Burns smoked like crazy. He used to smoke all the time. You never saw him without a cigar in his mouth. And the man lived to be 102. And he would have a whiskey, he'd have whatever. Sometimes it's our environment. Sometimes it's the food we take in. Sometimes, I'm going to say most of the times, it's the food. So here's my tip for you today. What I did yesterday is I did have a lot of food on my plate because it's the way I prepared it. It was a specialized salad and it was a lot, right? And even salad can be overwhelming because if you put chicken and you put eggs or whatever it is. So what I did is before I put the food in my mouth, I said, I'm going to take a portion of this and I'm going to save it for later. This way, I'm not overeating. I do the same thing sometimes when I go to a restaurant and I'll get the food come out and I'll ask them, even in the beginning, I say, can I have a doggy bag? Like, your food hasn't come out. I said, I know. Because what I do is when my food comes out, I take a portion of it, put it in the doggy bag, and I know I'm not going to eat it. It's not in front of me. Out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. The other thing that a lot of people do is they overeat and then the dessert comes. Oof, give me a minute. Let me drink more water. Oh, I'm going to make room for this. Because we're eating with our eyes. Because it looks so good. It's also we eat with our nose. Believe it or not, it smells like I need to have it, like I need to consume it. So I'm not saying go to dinner like this, covering your nose and your mouth. I mean, your nose and your eyes. Well, you cover your mouth, you're not going to eat that much. But if you cover your nose and your eyes, then you can't see or smell your food. And sometimes that's what makes it pleasurable, to be able to see what you're eating, to smell what you're eating. I'm not telling you not to do that, but I am telling you to split it up. Split it up. Don't have it all in one sitting. So you can say, you know what? I'm going to take a portion of this, which is this big, and my stomach is this big. I'm going to take, because it's maybe 2 portions, take half of that portion and split it up. Have it one now and maybe 2 hours later, or even 3 hours later, have the other portion. You still ate the same amount of food, you just spread it out so your body or your stomach can start to digest it at a better rate, if you will. That's my tip. Split up your food. Don't eat it all at once. I knew someone who didn't have a lot of money and they lived alone. So what they did is they bought a sandwich every day. They also didn't cook. So this is why they did it. They bought a sandwich for lunch every day. And because they bought a hero, they only ate half of the hero. They wrapped up the other one and they ate it for dinner. They maintained that for a long time. What happened to them is that then eventually they got into a relationship and the other person was cooking. So they didn't have to split up their food. Guess what? All of a sudden, they started gaining weight. They stopped the idea, the philosophy that kept them in good shape. Now, eating a sandwich is not the best deal, but he didn't overeat. And now, once he got into a relationship, hey, you're not eating enough. You should eat some more. And we all hear that when we're in a relationship. Why are you eating like a bird? I've been told that a million times. I'm not a bird, right? I don't pick up my food. I eat my food. I enjoy it. And I also consume a lot of water when I eat. I consume lots of water when I eat. So I encourage you to split up your food so that you don't overeat and yet you still will eat the same amount. You'll just eat it later. So I encourage you to eat better. Be smart with your health. Have yourself an amazing rest of the day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Guess what? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. It's your show. We have some incredible people coming on. Nick again, Jimmy, and I are blessed that we have great guests coming on our show. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have yourself an exceptional rest of your day. Take care.